Preface of the Stones of Venice, Volume 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Stephanie Lee. The Stones of Venice, Volume 1, by John Ruskin. Preface. In the course of arranging the following essay, I put many things aside in my thoughts to be said in the preface, things which I shall now put aside altogether and pass by, for when a book has been advertised a year and a half, it seems best to present it with as little preface as possible. Thus much, however, it is necessary for the reader to know that, when I planned the work, I had materials by me, collected at different times of sojourn in Venice during the last 17 years, which it seemed to me might be arranged with little difficulty, and which I believed to be of value as illustrating the history of Southern Gothic. Requiring, however, some clearer assurance respecting certain points of chronology, I went to Venice finally in the autumn of 1849, not doubting but that the dates of the principal edifices of the ancient city were either ascertained or ascertainable without extraordinary research. To my consternation, I found that the Venetian antiquaries were not agreed within a century as to the date of the building of the façades of the ducal palace, and that nothing was known of any other civil edifice of the early city, except that at some time or other it had been fitted up for somebody's reception, and been thereupon fresh painted. Every date in question was determinable only by internal evidence, and it became necessary for me to examine not only every one of the older palaces stone by stone, but every fragment throughout the city which afforded any clue to the formation of its styles. This I did as well as I could, and I believe there will be found, in the following pages, the only existing account of the details of early Venetian architecture on which dependence can be placed as far as it goes. I do not care to point out the deficiencies of other works on this subject. The reader will find, if he examines them, either that the buildings to which I shall specially direct his attention have been hitherto undescribed, or else that there are great discrepancies between previous descriptions and mine. For which discrepancies I may be permitted to give this single and sufficient reason, that my account of every building is based on personal examination and measurement of it, and that my taking the pains so to examine what I had to describe was a subject of grave surprise to my Italian friends. The work of the Marchese Salvatico is, however, to be distinguished with respect. It is clear in arrangement, and full of useful, though vague information, and I have found some cause to adopt, in great measure, its views of the chronological succession of the edifices of Venice. I shall have cause hereafter to quarrel with it on other grounds, but not without expression of gratitude for the assistance it has given me. Fontana's Fabbriche di Venezia is also historically valuable, but does not attempt to give architectural detail. Cicognara, as is now generally known, is so inaccurate as hardly to deserve mention. Indeed, it is not easy to be accurate in an account of anything, however simple. Zoologists often disagree in their descriptions of the curve of a shell, or the plumage of a bird, though they may lay their specimen on the table and examine it at their leisure. How much greater becomes the likelihood of error in the description of things which must be in many parts observed from a distance, or under unfavourable circumstances of light and shade, and of which many of the distinctive features have been worn away by time. I believe few people have any idea of the cost of truth in these things, of the expenditure of time necessary to make sure of the simplest facts, and of the strange way in which separate observations will sometimes falsify each other, incapable of reconcilement, owing to some imperceptible inadvertency. I am ashamed of the number of times in which I have had to say, in the following pages, I am not sure, and I claim for them no authority, as if they were thoroughly sifted from error, even in what they more confidently state. Only, as far as my time and strength and mind serve me, I have endeavored down to the smallest matters, to ascertain and speak the truth. Nor was the subject without many and most discouraging difficulties, peculiar to itself. As far as my inquiries have extended, there is not a building in Venice, raised prior to the 16th century, which has not sustained essential change in one or more of its most important features. By far the greater number present examples of 3 or 4 different styles. It may be successive, it may be accidentally associated.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?